Review, a daily program that delves into the latest and most significant economic stories. From stock markets to currency news, Business Review covers the most up-to-date stories in the global financial world.
Health workers on the front line of the coronavirus often work long hours with little time left for everyday tasks, such as trips for groceries. But in one English town, food and supplies are being brought to their front doors for free by automated robots. US-based Starship Technologies has been operating the robotic vehicles in Milton Keynes for the last 2 years, but the company has seen a surge in usage since the British government implemented a nationwide lockdown on March 23rd. The lockdown came not long after the service was expanded to include more neighborhoods, while the fleet of vehicles has been doubled to 70 to keep up with demand. The robots are being booked more than ever as grocery deliveries are nonetheless being offered to National Health Service staff free of charge. Vice President of Marketing at Starship Technologies Henry Harris Berlin said he's had positive feedback from NHS workers, many of whom work around 80 hours a week. The robots travel on pavement at a low top speed of 4 miles per hour and employ multiple sensors, cameras and a radar to ensure they complete journeys safely. Harris Berlin says he hopes their popularity among the residents and health workers of Milton Keynes will mean delivery robots will become a common sight in many more towns and cities across the UK.
On April the 26th, Wizz Air announced it will reopen its base at Luton Airport on May the 1st. With this move, the carrier will be restarting selected routes along with introducing new hygiene measures, becoming one of the first European carriers to begin restoring services halted during the pandemic. European air traffic is currently down by 90%, that's according to the global body IATA. Wizz said it would provide an essential service to passengers who need to travel, adding that the resumption of its flights was subject to no further agreement restrictions being announced. London-listed Wizz stressed that flights to several destinations in Romania, Hungary, Portugal and Spain's Tenerife would be among those to resume. Wizz said cabin crew would wear masks and gloves throughout flights and distribute sanitizing wipes to passengers, while aircraft would be disinfected overnight. Current UK government advises for Britons to avoid all non-essential global travel indefinitely.
Dutch Finance Minister Wopke Hoekstra said on April 24th, KLM, the Dutch subsidiary of Air France KLM, will receive 2 to 4 billion euros, or up to $4.32 billion in emergency aid to help it through the COVID-19 crisis. The details are still being worked out, he said, but will likely comprise a combination of bank loans and state guarantees. Meanwhile, Air France KLM secured 7 billion euros in France government aid on Friday as the airline industry struggles to survive the coronavirus crisis that has all but halted passenger traffic across much of the world. Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire said France will issue 3 billion euros in loans as well as 90% guarantees on another 4 billion in bank lending to Air France, adding that France is also preparing to back about 5 billion euros in loans to car maker Renault. Other major airlines, including Germany's Lufthansa, are negotiating government aid deals as they grapple with the air travel shutdown and deep uncertainty over the recovery outlook once the pandemic eases. According to data released by the China Federation of Logistics and Purchasing on Monday, China's total logistics volume in 2019 increased by 5.9% year-on-year. The data showed the overall logistics demand stable, but the growth speed slowed down, with demand structure constantly optimized and the consumption logistics growing steadily. The data also showed the total volume of logistics in 2019 reached $42 trillion with a year-on-year growth of 5.9%, 0.5 percentage points lower than that of the previous year. According to exports, the growth rate of total logistics had been for years lower than that of GDP, and this indicates that the economic growth mode had been shifting from materialized labor to service-oriented living labor, namely the input of intelligence and technology innovation. According to the data released, the logistics demand by the strategic emerging industries grew by 8.4% in 2019, 2.7 percentage points higher than that by industrial goods. The logistics demand by the high-end manufacturing grew by 8.8% over that of the previous year, 3.1 percentage points higher than the total amount of industrial goods. He Liming, president of the China Federation of Logistics and Purchasing, stressed that it is a good phenomenon, an expression of the high-quality development put forward by the 19th National Congress of the Communist Party of China. In 2019, China's total logistic cost increased by 7.3% over the previous year, and the growth rate fell by 2.5 percentage points. The share of the total logistics cost in the GDP was 14.7%, 0.1 percentage points less than in the same period of the previous year. With the holy month of Ramadan, the usually busy food markets in Bangladesh were less crowded on Friday, with many vendors complaining of a fall in sales due to the coronavirus pandemic. Bangladesh has extended a lockdown for 10 more days until May 5th, and the government has ordered mosques to restrict Ramadan prayers to 12 people and banned iftar gatherings. Wholesale fruit sellers at a Dhaka market said there were fewer supplies of fruits from overseas and also fewer customers. Earlier, Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, announced a set of financial stimulus packages worth nearly 1 trillion Bangladeshi taka in all for paying salaries and allowances of workers and employees of export-oriented industries and to support industries including small and medium businesses as well as farmers. The packages include support through increasing public expenditure, widening social safety net, and money supply increase.
With millions of people hungry in Venezuela, acute fuel shortages are forcing farmers to let crops rot in fields or feed them to livestock as they cannot transport food to market during the quarantine. Irrigation systems are halted in western Andean highlands and laborers cannot get to fields for harvest. According to the UN World Food Programme, even before the crisis, some 9 million Venezuelans were already suffering from malnutrition, and the latest developments have made it increasingly difficult to keep the country in quarantine. Robert Maldonado, who represents the region's farmers, said that 500 trucks that typically leave the La Grita region each week are now halted by quarantine and fuel shortages, leaving 5,000 tons of food per week stranded in the highlands. The land around La Grita, a city of some 100,000 inhabitants near the border with Colombia, has for decades been a center of fresh vegetable production. The United Nations has described Venezuela as one of the world's most vulnerable nations to the disease due to its deteriorated health system and lack of running water.
Business Review, your daily source for the most critical stories in the financial world. Tune in next time for the latest financial news impacting the world economy.